Welcome to Social Curiosity Podcast. I am your host, DeAngelo Burse, where we explore the depths of human behavior, personal stories, and relationships to uncover the fascinating layers of who we are. Welcome to Social Curiosity Podcast. Listen, I've been trying to launch this podcast for 5 years. Now, you might ask, DeAngelo, what took you so long? Well, listen, I've been writing. This is my book, Yours to Design, Constructing a Life That is Meaningful. You can purchase this book anywhere they sell books online. And prior to this book, I was working on another book that we couldn't get published. However, that one may still be in the works. Who knows? So I've always had a project. And not only that, I've been speaking, but you know what? Oh man, this is the year. And we are here. And man, I'm super excited. First, let me explain the name Social Curiosity. If you follow me or you know me and had some interaction with me, then you kind of know that I'm really philosophical, right? Like that I just have this philosophy mind. And so I even pursued philosophy at the academic level. However, I couldn't quite connect to how I was going to use philosophy to make people's lives better today. You know what I mean? Make people's lives better today. And I've always been wired towards people, right? I mean, I can remember back in the day, just people watching. I mean, some of you might people watch and it's just fun. And I used to give people stories that I didn't know. I would create stories about their lives and give them names as they walked through the park or whatever, wherever I was watching them. And it was fun to do. You might think I'm crazy and be like, oh man, this dude's crazy. But I think that was my psychology at work during those moments. You know what I mean? And so I unenrolled in philosophy and I pursued graduate studies in psychology, specifically social psychology. And so I consider myself a social and personality psychologist, and I really enjoy, and I'm not only just enjoy, but I'm so curious about people. And that's where the name comes from. It comes from my intrinsic curiosity about people. So during this podcast, I think what you're going to see is there'll be times that I go off on rants or tangents. And that's just because, man, I enjoy thinking. I enjoy learning. I really do. Let me go off on one right now. Aristotle thought that knowledge was good for its own sake, right? And I disagree with Aristotle. I don't think that knowledge is good for its own sake. I don't even think knowledge is power. One time I mentioned to someone that I disagree with Aristotle, and they looked at me and they said, who are you to disagree with Aristotle? Well, I believed he put his trousers on the same way I put my trousers on. So no, I disagree with it because typically when we get knowledge is for something else, right? And if it's for the sake of something else, then it can't be for its own sake. However, I do believe that learning is good for its own sake. You get what I'm saying? Because learning sometimes it's just for the sake of learning, right? Just want to learn something new, not to do anything with it, but just because it's intrinsic, it's fun, it does something. And I think that we'll continue to learn throughout eternity. I'm a theist, so I can say it. I think that we'll never stop learning, and there's something intrinsic about learning. And so what I hope is that this podcast would also be an avenue to learn. And so I'm going to bring in some of the people that I've had the awesome privilege of connecting with and allowing you to learn from them. But not just topics that you can learn, but I think there's some people that I've connected to that have some really cool stories. And I think stories is kind of like the bedrock of society, and that stories have always been a part of the human experience. And so I think there's something that we can capture even in understanding and unpacking someone's story. And so social curiosity will explore that as well. And I just want you to be curious, man. I want you to borrow the same curiosity that I have about people, because I think it makes us people-centric. But curiosity is kind of like a launch pad for learning. I mean, if you take away imagination, if you take away curiosity, then I don't think learning is possible. You get what I'm saying? And so we just got a little puppy, right? We got a little puppy. We named him Galileo, right? And this little dude is just curious about everything. I'm trying to figure out if he's sniffing because he's got a potty or if he's sniffing because he's just displaying his curiosity. I'm still trying to learn that. You know what I mean? But this podcast, what I hope to do is kind of rebuild for some of you that natural curiosity for people, right? Also, I get to put forth my mission with this podcast of developing better people who treat people better. How do I do that? Well, I help them reshape their life narratives. I help them realize their potential and have better social relationships, right? I think we would all agree that we want a better society where society is made up of people. And so my goal is to help people become their ideal selves. And so I want to use this podcast to do that. So what I need you to do is I need you to connect to where we are at Social Curiosity Podcast. I want you to find this podcast and I want you to connect to us because I truly believe that it could be transformative for your life because that is my goal. That's what I do day to day, and that is my goal. And so I wanted to introduce myself to you. I wanted to introduce this podcast to you. I wanted to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be exploring some various topics from experts. We're going to also be looking at some individual stories from just everyday folks. All right. But at the end of the day, what we're going to aim towards is personal and social flourishing. I want you to stay curious. Until next time, peace.